The next point, interviews. The strength of interviews are targeted, for focusing directly on case study topic, and then insightful, provide perceived casual inferences. And the weaknesses are bias due to poorly constructed questions, response bias, inaccuracies due to poor recall, and reflexivity. Interviewee gives what interviewer wants to hear. And then the next search. Next slide, please. Okay, the next one, direct observations. The strengths are reality, covers events in real time, and contextual, covers context of event. And then the weaknesses are time consuming, selectivity, use unless broad coverage, reflexivity, event may proceed differently because it is being observed, and then cost, hours needed by human observers. Next slide. The next sources is participant observation. The strength, same as above for direct observation, and the other one, insightful into interpersonal behavior and motives. And the weaknesses, same as above for direct observations, and bias due to investigators' manipulations of events. And then the last one, physical artifacts. The strengths are insightful into cultural features and insightful into technical operations. And then the weakness are selectivity and availability. Okay, next slide. And there are three principles of data collection. The first one, use multiple sources of evidence. There are triangulation or rationale for using multiple sources of evidence. And then types of triangulations in doing evaluation. The first one, of data sources or data triangulation among different evaluators or investigator triangulation of perspective to the same data set or theory triangulation. And then the last one, of method or methodological triangulation. And then prerequisites for using multiple sources of evidence. The first one, the collection of data from multiple sources is more expensive than if data were only collected from a single source. And then the second one, each investigator needs to know how to carry out the full variety of data collection techniques. And then next slide, please. And then the second principle is create a case study database. Documentation commonly consists of two separate collections. The first one, the data are evidentiary based and the report of the investigator, whether in article, report, or book form. The database can be the subject of separate secondary analysis independent on any reports by the original investigator. And then the problem of developing the database, the first one, case study notes, and then case study documents, tabular materials, and narratives. Okay, next slide. Okay, the third principle, maintain a chain of evidence. The principle is to allow an external observer to follow the derivation of any evidence, ranging from initial research questions to ultimate case study conclusion. Moreover, this external observer should be able to trace the steps in either direction, from conclusions back to the initial research questions or from questions to conclusions. Okay, next slide. Okay, the next material, analyzing case study evidence. Analytic strategy, more than familiarity with analytic tools. The first one, need for an analytic strategy. Helpful analytic manipulations are putting information into different arrays, making a metric of categories and placing the evidence within such category, and then creating data displays for examining the data, tabulating the frequency of different events, examining the complexity of such tabulations and their relationships by calculating second order numbers such as means and variances. And then the last one, putting information in chronological order or using some other temporal scheme. And then there are three general strategies. The first one, relying on theoretical propositions, and then thinking about rival explanations, and the last one, developing a case description. Okay, next slide. And now specific analytic techniques. The first one, pattern matching. Such a logic compares an empirically based pattern with a predicted one. In the patterns, if the patterns coincide, the results can help a case study to strengthen internal validity. If the case study is an explanatory one, the patterns may be related to the dependent or the independent variables of studies or both. And then if the case study is a descriptive one, pattern matching is still relevant as long as the predicted patterns of specific variables is defined prior to data collection. And the next point, explanation building. Here, the goal is to analyze the case study data by building an explanation about the case. And then the next one, time series analysis. The more intricate and precise the pattern, the more that the time series analysis also will lay a firm foundation for the conclusions of the case study. And then the next one, logic models. The use of logic models as an analytic technique consists of matching empirically observed event to the theoretical predicted events. And then the last one, cross-case synthesis. Cross-case synthesis can be performed whether the individual case studies have previously been conducted as independent research studies or as the pre-designed part of the same study. And then the last one, pressing for a high-quality analysis. The first one, your analysis should show that you attended to all the evidence. And then the second one, your analysis should address, if possible, all major rival interpretations. And then the third, your analysis should address the most significant aspects of your case study. And then the last one, you should use your own prior expert knowledge in your case study. Okay, maybe that's all from me. I'll give back to Utaf. Thank you.
Thank you, Suji, for your explanation. And then the next material will differ by me. Okay, reporting case studies. The first point is interrogating case study report. Communicating with case studies. Ada satu perbedaan tambahan antara studi kasus dan jenis penelitian lainnya, yaitu reporting case studies kita sendiri itu bisa menjadi alat komunikasi yang signifikan. Selanjutnya, orienting the case study report to an audience's needs. Jadi mengorientasikan laporan studi kasus pada kebutuhan audiens. Kemudian yang selanjutnya ada formats for written case study reports. Yang pertama ada classic single case study, yang mana format ini mendeskripsikan dan menganalisis kasus. Kita bisa menambah narasi dengan tampilan tabular, grafik, dan gambar, tergantung pada kedalaman studi kasusnya. Kemudian yang kedua ada multiple case version of classic single case study. Jenis kasus ini akan berisi banyak narasi, biasanya disajikan sebagai bab atau bagian terpisah tentang masing-masing kasus secara terpisah. Kemudian yang tiga ada covers either a multiple or a single case study but not contain the traditional narrative. Dalam situasi ini, komposisi untuk setiap kasus mengikuti serangkaian pertanyaan dan jawaban berdasarkan pertanyaan dan jawaban dalam database studi kasus. Yang terakhir ada multiple case studies only. Dalam situasi ini, mungkin tidak ada bab atau bagian yang terpisah yang dilimpahkan ke kasus-kasus individual. Sebaliknya, seluruh laporan dapat terdiri dari analisis lintas kasus, baik deskriptif, murni, atau juga mencakup topik-topik yang menjelaskan. Untuk yang selanjutnya akan disampaikan oleh Rika. So, Rika, the screen is yours.
Oke, Utap, thank you. Di sini saya akan melanjutkan poin dari reporting case studies. Selanjutnya itu ada case study report as part of large multi-method studies illustrative structure for case study composition. Nah, ada 3 alasan yang berbeda yang mungkin telah memotivasi penelitian yang lebih besar menggunakan beberapa metode. Nah, the first one is the large study may help for multiple methods simply to determine whether converging evidence triangulation might be absent even though different methods had been used data. The second, the large study may have been based on a survey or quantitative analysis of archival data. And the last, the large study might normally have called for case studies to elucidate some underlying process and use another method, such as a survey to define the prevalence or frequency of such process. Nah, jadi dari ketiga situasi tersebut, yang berbeda ini menunjukkan bagaimana study case dan pelaporannya mungkin harus dikoordinasikan dalam beberapa konteks yang lebih luas. Lalu poin yang kedua itu ada illustrative structures for study composition. Bisa dilihat di tabel, types of structure itu ada 6 poin ya. Yang pertama itu ada linear analytic structure, adalah pendekatan standar untuk menyusun laporan penelitian. Urutan subtopik dimulai dengan isu atau problem yang sedang dipelajari dan tinjauan literatur sebelumnya yang relevan. Nah, subtopik kemudian dilanjutkan dengan membahas metode yang digunakan, the finding, the data collected, dan dianalisis, serta kesimpulan dan implikasi dari temuan. Lalu yang kedua ada comparative structure. Comparative structure repeats the same case study to or more comparing alternative description or explanation of the same case. Next point, chronological structure. Because case studies generally cover event over time, a third type approach is to present the case study evidence in chronological order. Nah, yang keempat ada theory building structure. In this approach, urutan bab atau bagian akan mengikuti beberapa logika pembangunan teori. Nah, logikanya akan tergantung pada topik dan teori tertentu, dan setiap bab harus mengungkapkan bagian baru dari argumen yang dibuat. Nah, jika struktur dengan baik, seluruh urutan akan menghasilkan pernyataan yang mengesankan dan mudah untuk dipahami. Lalu, suspense structure. This type of approach is relevant mainly to explanatory case studies as descriptive case study has an especially important outcome. And the last one, unsquared structure atau struktur tak berurutan, yaitu struktur yang dimana urutan bagian atau bab dianggap penting. Nah, lalu struktur ini cukup untuk studi kasus deskriptif. Pada dasarnya boleh merubah urutan babnya, tetapi tidak mengubah nilai deskriptifnya. Okay, that's all from me. Back to moderator. Thank you.
Well, Rika, thank you for your explanation. And the next material will be delivered by Sri Ayu Wulandari. To Sri Ayu, the screen is yours.
Oke, thank you moderator. Saya akan melanjutkan poin yang selanjutnya, yaitu poin 5 dan 6. Oke, poin yang kelima yaitu procedures in doing a case study report. There are 3 important procedures pertaining specifically to case study. The first one is when and how to start composing. Jadi di sini ada 3 prosedur penting yang berkaitan secara khusus dengan studi kasus. Prosedur yang pertama yaitu adalah mulai menulis di awal proses analitik. Misalnya setelah ditelaah dan studi kasus telah dirancang, 2 bagian dari laporan studi kasus dapat dibuat, bagian biografi dan bagian metodologis. Kemudian case identities, real or anonymous. Jadi hampir setiap studi kasus itu memberikan penyelidik pilihan mengenai anonimitas kasus. Haruskah studi kasus dan informannya diidentifikasi atau haruskah nama seluruh kasus dan partisipannya disamarkan? And the last point is the review of the draft case study validating prosedur. Jadi prosedur ketiga yang harus diikuti dalam melakukan laporan studi kasus berkaitan dengan kualitas studi secara keseluruhan. Prosedurnya adalah agar draft laporan ditinjau tidak hanya oleh rekan sejawat seperti yang akan dilakukan untuk setiap naskah penelitian, tetapi juga oleh peserta dan informan dalam kasus tersebut. Jika komentar tersebut sangat membantu, penyelidik bahkan mungkin ingin mempublikasinya sebagai bagian dari keseluruhan studi kasus. Poin yang keenam yaitu what makes an exemplary case study. There are 5 general characteristics of an exemplary case study as follows. The first one is the case study must be significant. The case study must be complete. The case study must consider alternative perspective. The case study must display sufficient evidence. And the last, the case study must be composite in an engineering manner. That's all from me. Thank you. Back to moderator.
Thank you for Ayu for your explanation. And I think that's all from our presentation. If you have any questions, please drop in the comment section of Psikologi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.